As is the case every time Alabama and LSU play in the top 5 matchup, the media and the fans go crazy. The matchup this year is particularly interesting because LSU's offense looks dangerous for once, and Alabama is particularly vulnerable at one of the most important parts of the Nick Saban defense, which is the inside linebacker position. So due to injuries and the exodus of young players at the position, the inside linebackers lack experience at Alabama. This inexperience this year has reared its head at various times throughout the season through unfilled gaps and hesitancy in pursuing running backs / tight ends to the flats. So LSU would be remiss not to attack that position in some form in this game. So they would either want to call some runs at them, do some crossing routes, man-to-man isolation on the running backs and tight ends so that they can take advantage of that youth. The key is, how will the Alabama inside linebackers respond? And so one key point though about the LSU, what they would want to do to, attack the inside linebackers is that they'll run the ball. But LSU's running game hasn't been that great this year, which is a surprise, for the entirety of what they've done over the last decade or so. So Alabama is aware of everything I just said, so this won't come as a surprise to them. But there's two understated points about the Alabama defense at this point. One, the secondary is very good. Trevon Diggs and Patrick Surtain at the cornerback position are locking people up, not to mention the experience and leadership of Xavier McKinney and Shaheem Carter, who have both played well over the course of their time at Alabama, and so they provide a lot of stability in the secondary. Two, the defensive line, which would look to be a weakness at the beginning of the year, that they were struggling a little bit, has gotten better. The guys are maintaining their leverage a lot better and, holding up at the line of scrimmage. So a lot of the defensive linemen themselves aren't providing a lot of pass rush opportunities, but they're holding up well. And the two guys that are providing the pass rush, which wasn't the case early in the year, they've kind of hit their stride now, are Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings. And if they're on the field and they're playing well, then Alabama's outside pass rush does well. And so that's some key points that tend to go understated now that a few games have gone into the season, and a lot of people that noticed that the issues with the defensive line and pass rush at the beginning of the season are slowly starting to change. I'm not saying they're world beaters at this point, but they are a lot better than when they started, and so that's going to create a new dynamic for this game. So the key matchup, or one that's going to get a lot of attention overall, is the LSU wide receivers versus the Alabama DBs. And that's going to be the fun part, honestly. My question is, in the strategy, what will Nick Saban do? And what I mean by that is that, will he leverage his secondary over the defensive front in this game? Nick Saban typically wants to leave his safeties over the top. In a perfect world, always leave your safeties over the top and have shell coverage over these wide receivers. Versus most teams over the course of the years, he has been able to do that. Because his front can take care of the run and the QB and all that by themselves, and they let the wide receivers and the DBs, take care of the wide receivers. The elite teams cause him to break out the cover one and exotic secondary blitzes more often. So think Deshaun Watson at Clemson, and Auburn in 2017, actually, when Jarrett Stidham and a few of those guys, when they won 26-14 in that game, actually. When they show the ability to have some success on the ground, Alabama usually wants to dedicate some more players from the secondary to the run game. And so will LSU be able to do that? I think in light of the fact that they haven't been able to run the ball all that well this year, I can envision Nick Saban starting this game with giving his front the chance to handle the run game alone, even with the inexperience of the inside linebackers. Because you don't want to make a big adjustment without seeing if LSU can actually take advantage of it to begin with. So one question I'm going to have for you guys is, do you think the Alabama front has improved enough to do this? Do you think LSU's run game is going to make enough of a factor anyway to even try to address that point? That's something that's going to be a really big key in this game, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. They're just assuming a lot of things starting out. But these is one of the micro strategies that you have to kind of delve into to see what the overall game is going to look like. These games never totally look like what we think they will. I think this is one of those key things that will determine how a lot of other factors play out. So this is the first video I'm making on this. I can go into depth into a few more topics, including the pass rush of Alabama, the LSU wide receivers, how their offense looks different, how Alabama's defense looks different. It's going to be a lot going on. Tua's injury. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.